support hunting horn. A combination of words that seems to spark fierce discussion on Discord and internet forums. I don't think this topic has been addressed in video essay format before, and that's exactly what I'm going to do today. I'm going to try to not push my own personal narrative here, and will try to be as objective as possible. My name is Griffted, and this is the Hunting Horn Support Conundrum. The support debate has been raging for longer than I've been playing, but I became aware of this topic when I started back in 3U. Back in the old days, Monster Hunter, the franchise, was niche, and its player base was much smaller, especially in the West. So because the player base was much smaller, we saw fewer discussions about the support horn, but with the release of Monster Hunter World and its astounding success, a large crop of new players were brought into the franchise. So these small discussions that back in the day would pop up every couple of weeks are now popping up every day. So what is support? And more importantly, what is support hunting horn? This is the definition of the word support, and in reference to video games, we see support used differently among various communities. For example, in the MMO community, support is generally defined as a weak class that can't do much on its own besides heal. While in the MOBA community, like League of Legends, the support is seen as a very active role that's not really meant for kills, but is still an incredibly important member of the team. So I think for me, support in reference to Monster Hunter is making the team your priority. Focusing on defensive songs, healing your teammates, and making sure nobody carts. A philosophy I completely disagree with, but the Monster Hunter developers and popular content creators seem unsure of the hunting horn support prowess, and how important is support to the core of the weapon. Posted on Capcom USA YouTube channel, a Monster Hunter 3U video detailing advanced hunting horn tips speaks on the philosophy of the hunting horn. Let's listen.
Suggestions. User Godhand points out that we should be really thinking about the philosophy of the hunting horn itself, because you can attack and deal a lot of KO damage, and it's really powerful, but you also play these songs that can support the whole hunting party.
The rest of the video goes on to cover various tips that were posted to the Capcom Unity forum, but importantly, they state its damage and attack prowess first, and then mention support after. If you continue to listen to the video, you hear some really bad advice offered by some players, and they tiptoe around the support aspect of the hunting horn. Posted on the official Monster Hunter YouTube channel is the hunting horn release trailer for Monster Hunter World, where it specifically calls the weapon a support weapon, and goes on to talk about how the horn can apply status buffs to the entire team. This trailer is what most supporters will use as a primary defense in favor of the hunting horn being labeled a support weapon. Recently, with the E3 Iceborne promos, we see community manager Yuri playing the hunting horn. Early on, he says he wants to keep everyone alive and assumes a very supportive role in the gameplay.
So today I'm playing the hunting horn and hoping to sort of keep everyone alive.
Later on in the video, the commentator states that the hunting horn is not just a support weapon, and Yuri agrees.
It's not just a support weapon, but
right.
I mean, that's even extra. That's super extra.
Right. So
these healing properties were acknowledged by the community manager as icing on top of the cake. The cake being everything else that comprises the weapon. The icing is the support aspect. Continuing with the E3 promo footage, we have this guy.
And there's of course different songs, different buffs, but as a support class you're still dealing reasonable damage, and paired with some other skills that you can get going, there's a lot you can do. See, look at that, support all-star, Hunter 1, like, what else do you want? Everyone feels lifted.
And this confusing trend continues with a Monster Hunter World Iceborne developer getting quoted in this tweet, and translated, we can see the furtherment of the support role. Content creators have been just as confused as Capcom has been. We see some creators favoring the aggressive playstyle of the hunting horn, like Arekkz Gaming in his Hunting Horn Guide series starting back in 3U.
Now obviously you need to realise that not only are you playing tunes, but you are also attacking. So when you're fighting monsters, you can use those music tunes as combos. So whilst you're playing music and buffing yourself and your nearby teammates, you're also attacking the enemy. Capable of dishing out incredible damage knocking out and exhausting monsters, all while simultaneously buffing you and your team in a whole manner of different ways. That good use of the hunting horn will see you getting stuck in, attacking and buffing at the same time, and not standing in the corner, buffing your teammates from a safe distance.
And Gaijin Hunter has been a very vocal advocate about not being a support hunting horn player. We see this in many of his videos and this Tumblr post from 2014.
Incredibly simple to use and a powerhouse weapon that just happens to also be the best quote support weapon in the game, the hunting horn is the greatest weapon you probably haven't tried yet.
On the other hand, we see people vehemently latching on to the support mentality and pushing that philosophy frequently.
The hunting horn is a medium damage, medium mobility support weapon that can buff the entire team with the use of songs. As you can see, the hunting horn's damage is actually pretty good for a support weapon, with it falling slightly under the normal hammer's damage output.
Now we have to take a look at the other two defensive buffs, because remember, the reason I'm saying you could bring this as a way to turtle against thunder monsters, queue up 3 of them, run through all 3, and then do the encore. The encore will trigger 3 health recover smalls at the same time.
Any other weapon. It has a strong emphasis on support roles and being able to buff you and your party.
We, the consumer, get mixed signals from content creators and even the good people at Capcom. I display all this for you so we have some idea of how we got to where we are, and all these mixed signals could be fueling the discourse we see today. I think most people who know me, interacted with me, or even watched one of my videos know how I feel about the support hunting horn. The objective of this game is to kill monsters, and the in-game timer makes me want to kill monsters quickly. Now, not everyone feels the same way about killing monsters quickly, but I think we can all agree that the point of Monster Hunter is to kill monsters. Support hunting horn requires you to take an already weak weapon and make it worse. You put your teammates at a major disadvantage by sacrificing your DPS in favor of supporting your team. You turn a 4-man team into a 3-man team. You make your team 25% worse when you play support horn, and you make the fight last way longer than it needs to last. With the ease of combining and consuming max potions, the idea of support falls even further down the totem pole for me. The time it takes me to cue a healing song, then play it, or consume a mega potion with wide range 5, my teammate could have consumed 3 max pots. This is my subjective opinion, and people are certainly able to dispute it, and how I feel doesn't change the fact that, generally speaking, the hunting horn is viewed and labeled as a support weapon. What's interesting to me is that the hunting horn is the only weapon in the game to be defined by its feature. You see, the horn has a built-in song system that buffs yourself and your nearby teammates. This is a core feature of the weapon, but what I'd like to do next is provide for you an argument against calling the hunting horn a support weapon. I call it the sword and shield defense. So the sword and shield defense goes like this. Would you call the sword and shield a defensive weapon? Would you call it a tank? I mean, why not? It has a shield, right? It's a core component of the weapon, the shield. But the primary use of the shield in Monster Hunter World is to inflict damage. We see this built into combos and even with the Falling Shield Bash. Top players use the shield to get KOs at specific points in a fight. So, the sword and shield has a feature that primarily inflicts damage and sometimes blocks the player from damage. The hunting horn has a feature that primarily inflicts damage and sometimes buffs the team. Yet the horn is defined by its feature and the sword and shield is not. This is hypocritical of the community and hypocritical of the development team to associate a weapon with its gimmick. Just because the weapon has access to a certain feature, that doesn't mean the weapon is that feature. I recently had the pleasure of playing with someone who was much better than me. His name is Dreadlight and he's a hunting horn main with something like 5,000 hunts. He's HR 999 and has all EX deviants cleared. We were doing a trio with my really good friend Diaga on the EX deviant Malfestio. I was using an attack hunting horn and Dreadlight was using a support hunting horn note set, the Raging Bracky horn. But as you can see by his set, he geared it to be offensively focused. And when you watch him play, he's hyper aggressive, probably dealing more DPS than I did using a horn with support notes. His focus wasn't on the team. He was instead focused on killing EX Malfestio. The song benefits were the icing on the cake. So, where does this put the players? In one ear, you have Capcom telling you that the hunting horn is a support weapon. In another ear, you have content creators and top players telling you it isn't. Who do you listen to? This tweet details an Overwatch developer speaking about players being better at the game than they are, and I think it's quite telling. I'd like to expand on this a little further. The GameCube game Super Smash Bros. Melee was designed as a party game, for families to sit down next to each other and play the game together. Top players took that game and pushed it beyond what the developers thought was possible, and turned the game into something completely different than what the game's creators had intended. The top players and the community shaped the fate of Super Smash Bros. Melee, not the developers. I view the hunting horn in the same way. We, the players, define the weapon, not the developers. Thank you so much for watching. Tell me what you think in the comment section, and as always, keep playing that sweet chin music, boys.